Well, this is not clickbait or some manufactured headline. It isn't sensationalized, speculative, or opinion-based fodder. ESPN and principally their figure mouthpiece, Stephen A. Smith, really does hate Nikola Jokic.
It is over for me, though. Unless SGA falls off the map, I mean, it's over for me.
They have some kind of legitimate agenda against him. Now, just what exactly that is, I won't speculate on because I, unlike them, am not an ignorant, uneducated race baiter.
It's only 3 guys that won the MVP that wasn't top 10 in scoring. Steve Nash, Jokic, and Dirk Nowitzki. Now, what do those guys have in common? I'll let it sit there and marinate. You think about it.
But to deny the presence of some kind of targeted agenda of pure hate for some reason, whatever that may be, likely designed with the primary goal of discrediting Jokic, not merely within this era he is playing in right now, but also in an attempt to depreciate his legacy moving forward. Nikola Jokic just had a 60-point triple-double, dropping 61, 10, and 10 in a double overtime thriller against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a heartbreaking 140-139 loss, highlighted by 2 insane Russell Westbrook gaffes in the final 11 seconds. First, in deciding not to pull the ball back out in the waning seconds of the second overtime with a 1-point lead, instead opting to take and miss the 2-on-1 breakaway layup, then fouling Nickeil Alexander-Walker with 1/10 of a second left. The 61 points for Jokic were the most in NBA history in a triple-double effort, and yet all Stephen A. Smith could do in reaction to the game was slobber all over Anthony Edwards. And I do mean he was getting emotional with it.
I'm getting emotional right now. I want to get emotional right now.
You have emotions?
Yes, I do. You know what I'm saying?
I know who Ant-Man reminds him of.
This brother Ant-Man. Dougie, Jay, Molly, let me tell you something right now. Ant-Man is one of the greatest shows in basketball.
Like, Steve probably had to check the tighty whities after this segment.
Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
But Stephen A. was also mightily impressed with Ant for the way he came to life in the fourth quarter and 2 overtimes.
He scored 13 points in the last 6:30, the last 6:53 of regulation, all right? Back-to-back threes, all right, to put him up.
And of course, he couldn't help but go to the Jordan comparisons.
I'm just watching his game. It's Jordan-esque. You understand what I'm saying?
Because, of course, he is just so damn clutch.
And he shows up when it counts. He's one of those cats, if you're watching it on TV, you're looking at your clock and right, game winded down. He's going to respond at some point. This is what he does.
And Stephen A. wants as much of Anthony Edwards as he can get into these upcoming playoffs.
That's a brother I want seeing as often as possible. I'm looking at Minnesota. They got size. They can play some defense. We get all of that part. It's about Ant-Man. He ain't no point guard. You understand? Having him making the decisions. I don't need that from him. I need the ball in his hands. He's the brother you can give the ball to and say, take me there.
And look, there is no denying Edwards was fantastic in the game in question in the clutch. But Jokic was just as good or better. Edwards had 13 points in the fourth quarter on 4 of 6 from the field, while Jokic had 16 points in that same time frame on 5 of 6. Edwards had 6 points in the first overtime on 3 of 5 shooting, while Jokic had 7 points on 3 of 5, and they both scored 5 points on 2 of 3 shooting for each in the second overtime. The difference here was that Edwards had just 10 points on 3 of 11 shooting in the first 3 quarters, while Jokic had 33 points on 8 of 15 during the first 3. And after that performance through 3 quarters and being pushed to play every second of the game after halftime, Jokic still neutralized Edwards in clutch time performance. In my estimation, outperformed him. Recall the Nuggets were losing this game by 6, 123-117, with just 1 minute and 23 seconds remaining in the first overtime when Jokic calmly knocked down a 3 to cut it in half. He then, with 12 seconds left in that same overtime session and down 2, had the ball isolated against Edwards. And speaking of those Jordan comps for Edwards and all of the endless shit talk Jokic takes for being terrible at defense and costing his team at that end, while Edwards is unanimously praised for being an elite two-way player, just check out what Jokic does though to Edwards here again, down 2 with 12 seconds to go. And since we are speaking about clutch time and Edwards, please pay absolutely no attention to the fact the Timberwolves had the ball with 17 seconds remaining in the second overtime, down 1, and Edwards had the ball in his hands only to turn it over. A turnover which should have sealed the deal for the Nuggets if it wasn't for the absurd Russell Westbrook blown layup at one end, compounded with the foul at the other, with 1/10 of a second left. But the difference between Edwards and Jokic is that Edwards has an actual team to rely on and get his back, something mostly all of the other star players in today's NBA era have besides Nikola Jokic. Look no further than the series last year between these same two teams in the semifinals, the one where the Timberwolves outlasted the Nuggets in earning that hard-fought Game 7 series win, the clincher in Denver. Yeah, in that Game 7, Anthony Edwards scored just 16 points on 6 of 24 shooting for the game. He was 1 of 8 for 3 points in the fourth quarter, yet his team beat Jokic's team. For the game, Jokic had 34 points, 19 rebounds, and 7 assists. In the fourth quarter, he had 14 points on 5 of 10 shooting, and that was in pure exhaustion mode as he was forced to play in 47 of the 48 minutes of that game. Still better at every level than Edwards despite it. In the second half of that game, again Game 7, the loss to Minnesota in the second round last year, Jokic scored 21 points on 7 of 16 from the field, while the entire rest of his team scored 16 points on 7 of 23 from the field. And Jokic actually still gets criticized for that game and series, while Edwards again unanimously praised. We are living in a genuinely insane time. After this most recent game though, Edwards, who, respect, does have that alpha dog mentality, which is so sorely lacking from today's NBA, as no one thinks Ant-Man is better than Ant-Man himself. And yet, he had the highest of praise for Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic, bro. Oh my God, he might be the best basketball player I've ever seen, like, close up.
He went on to admit that there is literally no defending him, just to hope that he misses.
Just in the downside, like, and how crazy it was.
We was just hoping he missed. It was at one point we was just like, bro, we hope you missed, bro. Just, you know, because trapping him, he wasn't trapped. Like, he good. Hats off to him, man.
But nonetheless, these charlatans, these yellow journalists over at ESPN, continue to downplay Jokic, led of course by Stephen A. Smith, who will let you know how important Stephen A. Smith is to ESPN. Just let him tell you all about it.
The money obviously is significant regardless of what the reports say. They don't know the specifics, and I'm not about to tell. But let's just say that I have no reason to be unhappy with the money that I'll be earning in the near future as the face of ESPN and one of the preeminent faces of Walt Disney.
A guy who was voted for Jokic just one time in the last 5 years for the MVP award. Once, despite him laying down 5 of the 7 highest single-year BPM seasons ever during that span. And not only did Stephen A. not vote for him any of the last 3 years, this is the 3rd straight year he has openly and unapologetically campaigned against Jokic.
The league MVP award should go to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't want to hear about Jokic. I want to hear it.
He took the opportunity to again mention the MVP race after Jokic's historic 60-point triple-double last night in the face of Jay Williams, of all people, defending Jokic.
I think SGA is going to win the MVP.
That's the best player in the NBA right now.
Oh, absolutely.
That is the best player in the NBA.
Plenty of times Michael Jordan didn't win the MVP, and we knew he was the best player in the
My
league.
thing with Jamal Murray.
Look at how salty Stephen A is by the premise that Jokic is by far the best player in the game today. Look at his face here. And then, not even this D1 Jokic slanderer can even argue that Jokic is the best player, simply saying Jordan was snubbed multiple times while he was the best player.
Plenty of times Michael Jordan didn't win the MVP, and we knew he was the best player in the league.
My thing with Jamal.
Facts. We have entered a time in human existence where Jokic's unparalleled dominance actually is rivaling or at least warranting mention with Jordan. Speaking though of Jay Williams, again, shout out to him for going on the Jokic offensive here and laying out exactly what it is on Get Up.
And by the way, if this were LeBron, if this were Steph, who had 61, 10, and 10, ESPN would shut down. We'd be talking about it for 3 days. How are we not leading every show with Nikola Jokic? How are we not talking about his individual greatness? Anthony Edwards said it last night.
And these are straight facts by Williams. So perhaps it isn't all of ESPN that hates Jokic, just the vast majority of scrubs on that network. So shout out to Jay and much respect. It must be a Jay thing, because for those of you who do not know, that also happens to be my first name. Williams went even beyond me though, saying Jokic is outpacing Hakeem and Kareem.
I think he's outpacing Shaq, Kareem, and Kareem. He's outpacing them.
Both Kareem and Kareem.
Yes, Hakeem and Kareem. But you are looking at one of the most gifted, if not the best big men maybe to ever play the game. That is what we are watching.
So incredibly lofty praise there, and Nikola Jokic needs it because he isn't getting it anywhere else on any other mainstream sports media outlets. Not this year, not for his career, and likely not moving forward. In fact, some major personalities don't even think Jokic should be allowed to play in the NBA. And for more on that, you can check out this video right here. And please guys, make sure you are following me on Discord and X, links to both in the description to this video below. And if you're not subscribed here, of course, make sure you do that as well. Oh, and turn the notifications on to stay up to date with more from me. Until next time, guys.